What's up and welcome back to the Gridiron with Chance Aspen. Make sure you subscribe down below, like this video, comment. Now, enjoy this video. Alright, welcome back to week number 5 of my 5 NFL thoughts. If you don't know by now, I do one of these videos every single week where I give you my 5 NFL thoughts every single week. And here it is, week number 5. Let's go. Thought number 1. The Baltimore Ravens against the Cincinnati Bengals was the game of the year already. It was an unbelievable football game. Now, if you don't like offense, it's probably not the game of the year for you. But it is for me. I like offense. Both quarterbacks were off the charts good. We've been complaining a little bit about how poor the quarterback play this year has been around the NFL. Not in this game. It was elite versus elite. Lamar Jackson made some plays that I don't know if anybody else on the planet can make. Joe Burrow was dicing up that Ravens defense, which you rarely see happen to the Ravens defense. A quarterback dice that defense up like that. And Lamar was spectacular. The Ravens ended up winning 41-38, but it was the game of the year. It was back and forth. Cincinnati held a 10-point lead, I think, 3 times. It was an excellent football game. Now, of course, no defense, so it wasn't like a complete all 3 phases on both sides of the ball for both teams were playing at a high level, no. But it was elite offense versus elite offense, and they were just going score for score in that second half. Cincinnati started off scoring, and then Baltimore responded quick, and then Cincinnati, and then Baltimore. The game ended up going into overtime. Like, that game had everything. If you're an NFL fan, even if you're not a fan of one of those two teams, you just loved watching that game as an NFL fan or even as a football fan because that game was so exciting to watch. I loved watching that game. Usually I love football in general, but that game had me just glued to the TV. I didn't even watch any of the other games until that game was over with. I was just glued in on what was happening, and it was spectacular. It was a great game. Both quarterbacks balled out. It was a great game to watch, and it is by far the game of the year so far in the NFL. Thought number 2. I know the Rams are 1-4, but I still like their team. They're just young. I still like the Rams as a football team. I still think the Rams can have a very successful season this year. They're just a very young football team, specifically on defense. They're playing a lot of first and second year guys. I think they're the second youngest roster in the NFL behind the Green Bay Packers. But also on offense, they're missing Cooper Kupp and they're missing Puka Nacua. Both those guys, the offense is built around those two guys. Sean McVay designs game plans around those two guys. So I get nobody's talking about them right now because they're 1-4, but I still like them as a football team. I still think they can do great things this year. I still think they are an elite football team if they're all healthy. Now, they're still young, and they still make some young mistakes, and that's expected. But I still like their football team. I think the Rams, in 2 or 3 years, they might not have Stafford anymore. Like, they'll have to draft a quarterback. But with Sean McVay, he'll figure that out. I think the Rams have a chance to do some special things, like possibly win another Super Bowl in the next couple of years, especially if this young talent continues to develop. I still like the Rams. They're struggling a little bit right now. I think they'll get back on track once they get some of these guys back, like Nacua and Kupp. But I think in the next 2 or 3 years is really where you're looking for the Rams to do some special things. Thought number 3. Deshaun Watson is done. It's over for Deshaun Watson. If I'm a Browns fan, I want him benched immediately. I want them to be playing Jameis Winston next week. I really do. He was awful, and he's been awful this entire year. I think against the Commanders, he had a quarterback rating of like 8.5. That's pathetic. That's not just bad. That is horrible. That is pathetic football. He's not seeing when guys are open. He's just staring at the rush and running around for no reason in the pocket. He's not going through his reads. His mechanics are sloppy. He, right now, is a horrible football player. And I hate saying that, but he just is not a very good football player right now. He's not the guy that we saw in Houston in 2020. That's the guy the Browns are paying for. You didn't get all that guaranteed money, a fully guaranteed contract, the first in NFL history, to be playing like this. You got it to be playing like a top 5 player in the NFL. You got that money to be the guy you were in Houston that last year. That guy who was a top 5 guy. That guy could go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Now this guy is, the 30th best quarterback in the NFL? Shoot, are you even a top 30 quarterback in the NFL anymore? I don't think so. Deshaun Watson is done. I've seen enough. He is not a good football player anymore. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he just kind of stopped thinking about football when he was going through his suspension and he took that year off or what. But right now, he is not a good football player. And if I'm a Browns fan, if I'm a Browns coach, you got to seriously think about benching him because he is not producing like he should be. And it's hurting this entire football team. The defense probably doesn't believe in him, and the offense probably doesn't believe in him because he's not getting it done. He's not playing like he's expected to play with all that money he got. And right now, the Browns are just going to keep playing him, but they shouldn't. Deshaun Watson should be benched, and Jameis Winston should be playing this week. But they won't. Because they paid him too much money. And the ownership doesn't want to say he was wrong. That's pretty much what it comes down to. The ownership doesn't want to say he was wrong, so he's going to keep playing him. Thought number 4. I love what Brian Flores is doing with the Minnesota Vikings. I love what he's doing. He brings so many different looks on defense. You can just see quarterbacks being so confused when they're playing against the Minnesota Vikings. They look like they have no idea what is going on. Brian Flores is just confusing them. He's doing so many creative things with all these different players. And I think what even makes it more impressive is he doesn't really have any superstars on that defense. Like, there's not one guy that you're like, oh yeah, that guy's an all-pro. That guy's one of the best players in the NFL. They're all good players. I'm not calling any of them bad. But none of them are great. None of them are TJ Watt, Myles Garrett level. I don't think that's saying anything bad. And I think that's what makes it more impressive what Brian Flores is doing. Is that he's operating at that level and he's being this great with this talent. Now they're talented, but I think that's what makes it more impressive, is he's not doing with all these superstars. He's doing it with just really solid players. My 5th and final NFL thought through week 5, here it is. I love watching the Pittsburgh Steelers play football. Really, it is awesome to watch them play the game of football. I know they lost last night, but especially on defense, they are just a joy to watch. One, TJ Watt I think he's the best defensive player in the NFL. I really do. I think he is that good on the defensive side of the ball. Even when they chip him, he seems to make an impact on a lot of plays. Very rarely when you watch the Steelers and TJ Watt, there's a game that goes by that he didn't make an imprint on. He always usually makes one play that puts his stamp on the game. But even the other guys, Mika Fitzpatrick, Patrick Queen, Joey Porter Jr., Landon Roberts had a play at the goal line late in the fourth quarter where he just dove over all the linemen, tackled the running back, and made him fumble. Like, it was a hell of a play. And that's what I'm talking about when I love watching the Steelers, is it just seems like they make those level of plays. Now, their offense, not so much. I probably should have said I like watching the Steelers' defense instead of like the Steelers' team. Their offense needs some work, but their defense to watch is so much fun. They are such a fun defense to watch. Because unlike the Minnesota Vikings, the Pittsburgh Steelers have 2 or 3 superstars on the defensive side of the ball. But that's my NFL thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and have an awesome day.